Hi, good morning. Welcome to our sort of last week. Well, second last week, but the lectures are stopping this week. And then next week is going to be testing and consultations. So I'm going to release the last test just before the weekend. And the last test will cover pretty much everything from the beginning. So you have the notes. You have the videos, and you already have the experience of uh, studying some of those questions before, right? So things should be fine. Now, one thing I'm just going to say, and please, I'm going to also make sure that this information is in the announcements. The last day of the term will be well, let's see here. August 15th. See now? It's going to be the last day of the last week, week 14. Then the final grades will be entered. I am entering the final grades quite early this term. So August 15th is Friday. By the end of Saturday, I'm going to have the final grades entered. Okay, so please submit everything that you have outstanding or anything like that. Please submit. Make sure your marks are up to date. I am going through the avalanche of marking the labs, so I should be done soon with that. Please make sure that you have everything, all the dots crossed and T's I'd. Right. There we go. So because here it is, August 15th, August 16th. By the end of August 16th, the final grades will be entered. Okay. For this course, not sure how the other professors are going to do. Could be a couple days this way, couple days that way. All right. All right. So the last week, let's start. Last week's content. All right. Bada beam, bada boom. So I'm going to finish up this term with overall, but not really, statements and some tricks of the trade and just a general overview of what this whole thing is about, which I'm trying to communicate all the way through since the beginning of this term. And this is going to be the culmination point of explaining what this whole business is about. All right. I called this one Tools and Equipment Infrastructure Technician according to the job performed. All right, tools and equipment. We're going to stop at this slide for a sec here. Start randomly, let's say from the top left. You can see there's a laptop here. Yes, laptop is, or some sort of a smart device, but a laptop is quite necessary for this type of job to be performed. What do you use that thing with? Well, to program things. Sometimes you're going to have to enter the programming structures of certain gateways. There could be some large corporations like banks, other facilities that a gateway has to be replaced, and you're going to be sent there to the site, and that equipment is also going to be shipped at the same time. Whoever gets there first, the equipment or you. So there have been service calls like that, and usually when something like that has to be replaced because something went offline, router or gateway, then you just have to have your tools so you can unscrew the rack screws. You can take things out of the equipment rack and without disturbing other things. And usually those things are being pre-programmed, so you can just plug and play. But sometimes you have to call the number and interface your laptop to that equipment and do a few minor changes that have to be last minute on site, or maybe something was wrong and it has to be corrected. Also, as far as programming systems like security systems, surveillance systems, or surveillance systems mostly are uh, done by the NVRs, but fire alarms, fire alarms also additional licensing required. So we talked about that. But any kind of thing that requires some sort of modems will have to be programmed. Quite often, when you do new installation or when you're replacing modem, excuse me, you're going to have to set the modem to the bridge mode. Okay, and that is it should be simple. In theory, it's a simple thing to do to put the modem in a bridge mode. Basically, a bridge mode is just the modem is passing the internet right through it, and it's getting to the gateway, and gateway has all the programming associated with that type of business. All right, excuse me. Yeah, phone. Not picking it up, but I'm just waiting for this thing to stop. Okay, it stopped. So things have to be okay. Programmed. So I'm saying the modem bridge. Setting up bridge modem into the bridge mode, it's basically making it like that. So normally the modem is shipped to you uh, with the way that it's set up for that particular facility or business or home. That you just plug in that modem and the modem just finds internet, and you can plug in the PC to one of the Ethernet ports. When you put that in the bridge mode, you cannot, you can plug your PC into one of the Ethernet ports, but it's not going to work. Right? You're just going to have to plug that modem into the some sort of a gateway. Then you from the gateway to a switch, and then you plug in your PC to a switch. So a lot of businesses do it that way. So things are being kept under control as far as programming and the whole structure of the network. So modems will have now putting modems into bridge mode. There are a lot of modem types, and there's no one single way to put them on. And even when we used to talk to the tech support, because you know that you gotta talk to, if it's a Bell modem, you talk to Bell tech support. If it's a Telas modem, okay, you get the idea. So even with the tech support from that brand or the provider, uh, you gotta designate that about an hour for that thing to properly be configured. Again, it should be just a simple thing, but it is what it is, right? And then at the end, they're going to ask you to hang on because there was going to be a survey. So a lot of us just, it's okay, we get enough. I got work to do. Now, so laptop, multimeter. Here's a multimeter, just a basic thing. You gotta have that. This is our bread and butter of our existence when it comes to electrical tech, tech stuff, right? So I don't think I have to explain why we need a multimeter. And you know what? All the way through since September, I was trying to make sure that you know how to use that meter, including those last questions on the coaxial cable that have nothing to do with coaxial cable, but I still want you to confirm that you know what's going on with this dial, this display, and those little letters and numbers there, and those holes that you plug things in. So, excuse me. All right. Over here, I have the data tester, and this one is the similar one to the one that we have in our class. Couple of testers, right? Diagnostic equipment. We have that just a quick and dirty type of a tester. So here is one part, here's the other part. You plug one thing into the outlet desktop location, and the other one at the equipment rack location, and this will just quickly tell you if the wire mapping is okay. It is not going to perform any frequency response tests, anything like that. No, it's just a quick thing just to see if you haven't made the mistake as far as put the wrong wire on the wrong pin when you're connecting things. It's a quick one. All right. Now, this one here is a qualifier. A qualifier will test for the length if the cable is longer than 328 feet, or the whole length end to end, then it's going to fail you on length. And it's going to perform certain light duty frequency response tests. I'm not sure exactly which ones, but it's going to qualify it as, okay, 100 base T, Cat 5e qualification. Or if you do a crossover cable, which we did, it's going to tell you that it failed straight link, but it failed in a certain way, and it's going to show you that you just made a crossover cable. And if anything else fails, it's just going to show you. So that is much better than this thing here. Also with this qualifier, there are different functions. You can do something that's called a flash a port. So you plug that in to any kind of Ethernet outlet. If things are not labeled at the equipment side, you can just plug into the desktop location. This whole, you forget that little dummy thing here. You just plug in that thing and and you set it up for flashing the port. So when you flash the port, when you go to if everything is connected, of course, but you can see, okay, the PC is connected, it's working, so it's got to be connected to a switch. But you don't know which port of the switch it is, and because things are not labeled, or maybe some labels fell off, who knows? You need to find out where exactly this thing is plugged in at the equipment site, at the LAN room. So you plug that in, set it to a flash port, go and look at the switch. That when the switch is working, the LED indicators with every port, and they're flashing at certain things, to indicate that there's a communication. And that, when you put it in the flash, the port mode, it is going to make that LED at the port of the switch location, is going to make it flash certain way. And sometimes it takes a while to find it because everything is flashing at irregular rate or whatever. And you have to kind of look at all the ports for maybe a minute or so, or maybe a little bit less, to find out which one is flashing like it's I don't know, so it might take a couple seconds, few seconds for you to find it, or maybe up to a minute. So that's a really good diagnostic feature. You can also use it as a toner. You can inject the tone, but then we have the toner. So that's far as diagnostic equipment. The toner, I showed you how to use that. This toner looks like this. The other toner that we have looks a little bit different. And yet the toner that I showed you on the 25 pair test, 25 pair termination video, I also mentioned a toner, and it looks different. Yeah, there are different kinds of toners. Basically, what it is, a toner will have a signal injector, and it will have a probe. So you inject the signal or audible tone. That sometimes it's constant, sometimes it's two frequencies going right. So we use that to test the connection of the PA speakers, so that could be used. And we also use that to trace the port when we were doing our POTS labs. So you sort of have some idea of how to use this thing. To be honest, the toner, quite often you just can't do your job without that piece of equipment. Right? There are certain situations that it's impossible to do your job without this. What else do we have? Drill, ladders, and wire pulling rods. Those are called glow sticks or glow rods. They are sold in hardware stores or specialty electrical stores, whatever, in plastic tubing like this, so you can just put them all together and have it somewhere in your working van. And they have different attachments for different wire pulling situations. Like, for example, here's that little chain here. That's a nice wire pulling feature. If you can't get to some sort of inside the wall, you can use a magnet to find that chain and pull it out through the opening. And also there's that fish line. It's a steel wire that, well, it's coiled up, and you can pull it out, and shove that fish line into conduits or certain type of short runs in the wall to establish a pathway. And steel, there's a couple of fish lines. One is the steel wire, and the other one is fiberglass. Fiberglass is not as durable as the steel fish line, but it's a little bit more flexible and quite a bit more gentle on the other existing wires. So if you have a pipe that is full of existing wires, if you try to maybe add one more, I wouldn't use the fish line to shove it in between those wires. I would try to use the fiberglass fish line instead of steel fish line, because it's just gentler on the other wires. The other thing, like, if I may give you a little tiny bit of advice, those glow sticks and the fiberglass fish lines are made of fiberglass, and they are not durable forever. So they get banged up and so on. So there could be some microscopic pieces of fiberglass kind of tearing apart, tearing away. So my advice is, whenever you're using the glow sticks or the fiberglass fish line, do not run lengthwise your hand on without the gloves, just a bare hand, because chances are you're going to get some of that in your hand, especially when this thing is being, put through its paces few times, more than few times. All right. Other things. Punch down tools we have used so far. We have used Bix and we have used 110 punch down tools. And in North America, these are the basic punch down tools. The 66 punch down tool, it's a different platform. You can research that if you want. 66 blocks are still being used somewhere in the States, but then even less and less. If it comes to telephony or telephone equipment installations, Bix is still the king. All right. Now, even in the States, Bics are being used more and more often, and that's too bad, because even in Canada, the Bics and the pots is being sort of downsized. I don't want to say fading out on the account of fiber optics installations. Pots are still being used. Okay? Pots installations are still being used. Not as much, not as huge scale as like in 80s, 90s, right? But still. All right, now let's take a look at the project stages, just so you got some gist on how this business works. All right, when you do a project, you do a survey, assessment, site work, commissioning, and billing. All right, survey. What is a site survey? A survey, well, what did they write a couple of years ago? I always say that. An inspection of an area where work is planned. The type of site survey and the best practices required depend on the nature of the project. Basically, what this one is saying, and it's just, in a very sophisticated, sort of a smart way, it's going to the site and taking a look of what you're up against, seeing what's what. Are there going to be any challenges with wire pulling? Is there type of certain type of structure, maybe a drywall, maybe an old building? There's that lath, plaster, still sometimes. What type of walls? What type of structure it is? Is there any easy access to do this? Is there any easy access to do that? So site survey is basically going there, making notes on what needs to be done. Maybe there's some additional equipment that needs to be implemented because of whatever conditions there. So it's a recon of the site and making notes. Maybe taking a look at, let's say, if there was a certain type of system installation, like, for example, a VoIP telephone system. VoIP's phone system will work on Cat5e cabling minimum. It will not work on Cat5 VoIP telephones. So VoIP telephones have to have minimum Cat5e connecting the phones to the network. And when you're doing the survey, you're going to be looking for that. If that's a VoIP telephone system installation, so you'll be looking, is there any old Cat5 cabling still being implemented? And believe it or not, in some facilities, some cases, yes. When there's an old network being installed, not broken, not being fixed, works for whatever their needs are of the PC that is somewhere there in supervisor's office. They don't need to have a high speed whatever connection. They just do some accounting numbers and whatnot, so they don't even notice what they have. Maybe Cat5, it's a slower speed. They don't need anything faster. But if there's a VoIP phone system that needs to be installed, then of course you're going to have to replace for Cat5e, and you're just gonna have to let the client know. And this has to be, all those notes have to be properly done by an experienced person. So here's that knowledge thing that I listed right here. So some of the surveys can last half an hour. Some of the surveys can last 10 minutes. And some of the survey can last a week, just to take a look in every little corner, depending on the nature of the project. What do you need for that? Well, you need a notepad, camera to take pictures, tape measure, basic screwdrivers. Maybe you have to take a look, open some panels and just take a quick peek on what's inside. Flashlight, of course. You're going to have some ladder because sometimes you're going to have to step up to take a look at some things. PPE, because in certain areas, factories, plants, you need to have foot protection, hard hat, and safety glasses. It just makes you that, excuse me, that much more professional when you don't have to borrow their stuff. So yeah, I just need to take a look at what is on, somewhere in this production plant. I just need to look in that corner to see how the wiring is there. Oh, by the way, do you have any safety glasses, loaner ones? Try to avoid situations like that. Be self-sufficient, be professional, well-groomed, nicely showered. Yes, all right. Clean with your own equipment. It goes a long way. Yeah, shower goes a long way. All right. All right. So that's as far as the survey. Assessment. Well, that's the pricing, evaluation, estimating documentation in order to prepare a proper job quote. In this, as in any other business, you compete against others that are trying to get the same job. Well, so you're trying to get this job done the most efficient way. give the customer the best solution that they can get, and the price has to be attractive for the client, and of course the price has to be attractive enough for you, because you are in the business of making money. You're not in the business of charity when it comes to this type of stuff. So there's a huge science, not a science, but well balanced machine that goes around, and somebody raises the price enough to put themselves out of the market. Some people underestimating and messing everybody else's business, including their own. So it's a huge game on the market there. So the pricing has to be done, or the job quote has to be done proficiently. Yeah, it's a mysterious word. Yeah, it's an art. Doing a proper assessment, it's a skill, and it's an art. The main idea is that the client, and usually you fight for the huge clients, or the small ones too, because small clients also get different quotes for different companies. The idea is to get your client to choose you over the others. And also the idea is to quote the price so you make money, because if you quote the price too low, you still have to fulfill the contract. And if you make a mistake that you quote not enough money for the job, not enough price too low, then you can send your company packing. There have been cases that things have been misquoted, and companies got in trouble because of that, financial trouble. What do you need for that? Well, you need some suppliers and distributors in order to get equipment. You're not, the equipment for those big jobs, you are not getting at the hardware stores. That's for the regular consumer market. You would not be able to do a job and compete against others who get prices from the suppliers and distributors. So you need to have some sort of network of those. And as I keep saying, if you do want to get into a business of your own, maybe not now, because things could be a little bit intimidating. You're busy with other things, but a couple of years down the road, keep my email. Right? You might want to ask me a couple questions. Where do I get this? What do I'm available, right? Even after you're gone from the school. You need to know the prices, and you need to know the prices efficiently. What do I mean by that? You got to get good price for the equipment, and you got to mark up just enough so you make money, and maybe it's attractive with other clients. Quite often, the clients will, when they set on you, they will keep choosing you, because quite often what's more attractive than the price a little bit lower or higher is the quality of the job that you do. That goes longer way than the price, the integrity. So that's why I say, you go see the client, take a shower in the morning. Why am I saying that? I've seen things. Okay. So you gotta be professional. And as I said, equipment, don't ask the client for safety glasses. In some extreme situations, yes, you can, of course. But general rule, have your own safety glasses, have your own hard hat, have your own safety boots. At least that. So in case you need to walk into some sort of production plant when you're doing, and trust me, it gets noticed when you have things like that. The least, is there a ladder I could use? No. Go to your van, get your own ladder. Make sure if the ladder looks nice, that's that's even better. So it goes a long way. Trust me. Right? Now, for the assessment, you need some sort of an office setup, and the biggest weapon that you have is your brain. In this one, you have to have the knowledge, of course. You're not going to be doing estimates or quotes within the first 2 years of being on the job. Right? Especially the big ones. If you make a mistake on a small job, yeah, okay. But if it's a huge project, $500,000 project, if you misquote some stuff, you can send your company packing. Small jobs, small mistakes. Big jobs, big mistakes. Site work. Well, here's a site work. Installation and service. Brand new installations, service. And for that, you need to have all that knowledge that I gave you during the last few months, especially when it comes to filling out the deliverables, the work orders, taking pictures, and get ready for this. I'm asking you to take 2 pictures. I keep saying that, and I'm going to say it again. I'm asking you to take 2 pictures most of the time. But usually you could be, if it's a new installation, you'll be asked to produce 80, maybe 100 pictures. So get ready for that. And those have to be done certain way, no improvisation, no being creative. Get the idea of what whoever who is issuing you that job, which would be your client in some sort of a way. So get the idea of what they want, give it to them that way. So your job is, so the deliverables are not rejected, and then you're going to have to try to fix that because you want to get paid, but there's another job you're already on, and just do it right the first time. Trust me, listen to what I'm saying. All right, what do we need? Oh, we need continued on following pages. Site work, installation and service. All right. Now, yeah, but what I meant here is after this time, there's site work. We're going to take a look at closer details on that. Commissioning. What's that mysterious word, commissioning? Well, if you install a phone system, just a regular phone system or a VoIP phone system, how do you use a phone? Well, everybody knows how to use a phone. You pick up the handset, you dial the number, and talk. However, this corporate corporation or corporate installed in a corporate setting systems, they're a little bit more complex. You need to know how to make a phone call. Yes. How to make a phone call in a different ways, doing that specific telephone set. How to put the client on hold, how to do a transfer call. And so you have to train the receptionists. You have to train the people who are going to be the end users in the offices, how to access your voicemail, how to operate the voicemail and whatnot, some permissions, restrictions, and all that thing, how to do a page. So you get a bunch of phones connected to connect them to the system and get people in the conference room. And if there is a group of people who are working in the offices, you give them a separate training session. And then there's some other people who are maybe supervisors or something like that. They need to know other things, and the general labor people who need to use the phones, and you make a separate session with them. Or sometimes if it's a small enough company, then you can get everybody in the same room. So commissioning is basically presenting the system after it's installed and making sure that the system works, making sure that the clients know, who pay a lot of money for it, that they're comfortable with using it, answering some questions. So when there was bigger phone systems or bigger, especially phone systems, then I would spend maybe a day or sometime, if I could manage it, 2, days of just a regular operation. Just come over and just be there, socializing, having a coffee, and just making sure that they know that you're here to answer some of the questions. Because yes, there was a session, everybody participated in the session. Yes, does everybody have any questions? No. But then the workday kicks in, and oh, wait a second, what was he saying? How did okay? So just be there. It goes a long way. That courtesy type of thing. So what do you need? You need an audience. So you need audience, and you need some sort of a conference room and whatever equipment that you need to do. So when it comes to doing the survey, you get some sort of a working clothes that are nice and clean, and please shower. All right, and brush your teeth. And for the work, if you're doing the same thing, if one person doing all, then you're going to have to put on your dirty clothes because you're going to have to go into the ceiling spaces. You're going to have to kneel on your knees sometimes and cut out some grommet openings for wire pulling. Sometimes you have to crawl in the ceiling space, and sometimes you have to crawl underneath the floor. So that's a dirty kind of clothes that you're going to put on. And of course, when it comes to commissioning, you're going to put some dress pants, shirt, tie. So all that. I didn't mention that at the end of the project, sometimes if you are AutoCAD savvy, you might want to let the boss know, because some clients do require something that's called as-built drawings. So there will be the working drawings, construction drawings, and at the end, some clients require something that's called as built, so as it was built. So maybe that outlet was not suitable to be in that spot in that room. During the whole installation, things were consulted, and the location of that outlet was changed, or something like that. As it was built, and there's the maybe some color of the wires needed, some whatever. That is also part of the job that you can get paid. Here's my favorite part: is the billing, and of course you get the money for your hard work. Right? And for that money, depending on how much you make, you can get your favorite car. You can buy that island that you always wanted, or you can buy some new tools so you can do more work. Whatever you want to do. Or maybe somebody's going to take the money away from you. Not getting into that. All right, so billing is make sure that the billing is done in stages. Don't do, never, ever do the billing that, you're gonna get paid when the job is done. No, the jobs sometimes take longer. You need to pay your bills. Plus, some of the contractors, the bigger contractors, they go bankrupt. And 3/4 of a way through the job, the big contractor that you sign the contract with goes bankrupt. They don't owe you any money, but you have to pay your people that you hired. You had to buy the equipment. You had to spend your time. At that time you were not doing another job that you could get paid for. So get identifiable stages of work, like for example, wire pulling. Well, we're going to talk about that in the next few slides. Where are we here? All right. Okay, which slide are we at? Just want to make sure we're here. Yeah, we're going to push a little bit. Because it's we got 10 more minutes. All right. Okay, so remember when I said this here, installation and service, continue with following pages? Okay, so that's the continuing of that. All right, when it comes to basic stages of doing work in this type of business, and this is a billable stage. Remember, build the client in stages. It is a billable stage. The first billable stage is even before that. It's delivering all the equipment on site. And you have to have that in contract. Upon the equipment delivery, you need the check for so and so. If you don't get the check of so and so money, and if the check doesn't clear, you take the equipment back to the distributor and say goodbye to the client. Usually they're going to get 100 phone calls from the client. Yeah, all of a sudden they have the money. But I would say in this case here, ruthless would be too strong of a word, but be really, what's the word I'm looking for? Decisive, for the lack of a better word. Of course, when I finish the video, I'm going to be decisive. No compromises here. Trust me, there are some people that are going to make themselves look like they are your friends only to stab you in the back. And, well, when you are all of a sudden, you end up with a bunch of debt in your bank, you're going to get a rude awakening and you will never, ever do that again. So if somebody is nice and friendly with you, you be nice and friendly with them. There is no reason for you to be rude. But when it comes to this type of business here, yes, with a smile, you say, we need that much money for this equipment to be delivered. And it's the client's responsibility to store the equipment and making sure that this thing doesn't get stolen. And then that will be the first billable stage. Then there's the next is the RAF-in stage. It's a billable stage. What is it? Okay, what did they write? What did they write? After planning, let me get my laser. Oops. There. After planning the cable distribution, the RAF-in stage begins. All cables are pulled from the home run location to their destinations. Just approximate pulls from the LAN room to their desktop location or thereabouts. The cables are coiled in the bundles at both ends but not terminated. Make sure that all cables are clearly identified. Remember, labeling cables at both ends properly. All runs are securely mounted in the ceiling space or otherwise raceways. And the work is done according to the local building and electrical code. So, of course, see, here's a J-hook. So RAF-in, it's a nicely identifiable billable stage. When the cables are roughed in, that means the cable goes from the LAN room to the rough location where it's going to be terminated. And sometimes you just, if there's a bunch of outlets to be terminated in this room here or in that room, you just leave the cables coiled in the ceiling, ready to be pulled and terminated down the wall. Sometimes, if it makes sense, you're going to pull the wires down the wall here and coil them here. But quite often, you see there's a conference room, for example, here. And sometimes in the conference room, there's a conference table. And under the conference table, there's something that's called a well, which is basically a stage that the electrical power is put on, or well, or an island on the underneath the conference room table, and that's where the wires go. But usually there will be a pipe going down under the floor and getting the. So sometimes you might decide, well, there's other construction going on. Let's get this. Maybe they're going to get carpet later on. So let's just pull them here and coil them up here, so we don't have to muck around with that thing later. So you decide whether. But this is a rough in stage, just getting the wires for further work. And it's a nicely identifiable billable stage. Right? Rough in, numbered, pulled, J hooks. And if you use J hooks, you don't want them any further than 4 feet apart. And just so you know, you can't strap your wires to any other structure, like the ceiling rod, the rods that hold the ceiling tile grid. You can't strap the wires to those rods. All wiring has to have its own independent suspension in the ceiling. It has to do with the fire and safety. God forbid there's a fire, then the fire people will have to come in with those hooks on the sticks, and they will try to pull some of the structure down. So the less is holding the structure, the ceiling structure, the safer for them. And so if there's a bunch of wires strapped to the ceiling structure rods, then those wires are going to get in the way. So that's one of the main reasons. And aesthetics, and it used to be less wires. Now there's tons of wires being pulled. It has to be done in some sort of organized way. Otherwise, things are just not going to work. Site work. Roughing tool and equipment structure. Okay. Cable installation begins with establishing the pathways. Now, there are free air runs and there are raceways. Main runs, free air run. Main runs should be kept in bundles and suspended independently. So here is one of the main runs that goes somewhere from this land room, and you get a couple of rooms that you need to have the wires in. So of course, if there is any kind of a way between there and here, you're going to try to keep all those wires together. And then from some spot, convenient spot or strategic spot, you're going to fan them out. Right? So that's what I mean here. Main runs should be kept in bundles and suspended independently in the ceiling style. We talked about that. As much as possible, establish straight runs, so pulling multiple cables can be done efficiently. If you pull wires in a straight run, you can pull more wires and you can pull it more efficiently. If you have too many bands or just weave around things, then at every turn you have to pull a slack, pull the wires there, and then go to the next point. So it takes less, it takes more time to do the job, right? J-hooks mounted on the wall or suspended from the ceiling on the threaded rods, we'll talk about that, are the most common. Okay, so J-hooks, the J-hooks mounted on the ceiling walls or suspended from the ceiling or on threaded rods are the most common in this scenario. J-hooks are the most common. Other raceways type, such as conduits, cable trays, can be used as well. Raceways. Raceway, what's a raceway? A raceway, what we talked about, it's a pathway for a wire. It could be a conduit, it could be a tray, it could be wire molding or whatever J-hook way. As the alternative, the free air, right? Because that's free air runs, so J-hooks and cable trays. Now, as alternative to the free air method, closed raceways or cable trays, there could be cable trays that are closed, are used. All the raceways should be installed before the cables are run. Yeah, establish the raceways. Before you establish the raceways, you take a look at the site and make a really, really good survey. So you know what raceways have to be established, from what point to what point, what equipment to use, what types of raceways. Are they pipes? Are they cable trays? Are they anything else? Closed cable trays? Is there any challenge to get from one room to another, because sometimes there will be firewalls, and then you have to make sure that if you puncture a firewall, then you have to do it properly, and you have to seal it up properly and all that stuff. So that sometimes involves consultations with the general contractor and so on. So raceways are alternative to the free air. Now, with the free air, also there are rules on what cables to use, FT4 or FT6. I will explain that thing in the next class, what the difference is, just to remind me. I think I explained that already, but I'm going to do it again, just in case somebody didn't get it. It's important. All raceways should be installed before the cables are run. All right. Hint: position the J-hooks no further than 4 feet apart to avoid cable sagging. All right. Now, we are going to stop at this slide, and we're going to continue with the next video, continuing from the next slide. Cool. Any questions? Send me an email or talk to me in person. All the labs are going to be open labs from now on. Yes, we have one more lab to do the, what do you call it? The mechanical splice, fiber optic mechanical splice, but that is a quick lab. It's a participation lab. If you have if you have a lab that you're lacking and you're waiting for next week to do the open lab, let me see here. Just join me this Friday, because Wednesday is already gone. Today is Thursday. Friday, I'm going to have 2 to 4 p.m. section 1 lab, but that's going to be the mechanical splice. That will go quick. If you have anything to make up, you can use that as an open lab as well, starting this Friday. So, all right, that's it for today. Thank you so much for your attention, and I'll see you next time. And recording, where's that? There you go. Oh, somebody said something. Have a good weekend, Robert. Yeah, there you go. Hey.